95% of the world's watches are made here, including the one you're wearing right now. Many big brand watches are produced or sourced for parts from here. This place is Shenzhen City, the world watch capital city.
Where do these expensive timepieces actually originate? For example, are the $20,000 Rolex watches you see on people's wrists handcrafted Swiss pieces? Or did they stealthily come off a Chinese assembly line alongside 5,000 similar watches?
You pay $4,400 for a Metas Tudor Black Bay monochrome. You pay almost $10,000 for a Rolex of America. And a Royal Oak extra thin, it costs like $36,000. Cheap is not a word that applies.
A watch is often blurred. However, when you come to Guangzhou, you cannot see any problem just by looking at the appearance. What you need to be careful about is that the low quality movement inside will be sold at a high price.
My suggestion is you can try it first or buy it for a legal way. I'm Sean. See you next time.
Because it's crazy how Chinese producers are removing restrictions on the luxury watch market at the moment. Speculations that were previously kept under wraps are now rampant. Confessions that were blown. There are a ton of unboxings on talk. And let's just say that factories in Shenzhen have finished playing it quiet. The tea they're spilling is really hot. The situation became so heated that Rolex had to publicly announce a significant price reduction on some of their most valuable pieces because the Swiss can't sweet talk their way out of it. Too much has come to light, and it's dirty, noisy, and embarrassing. Yes, people are in awe. But before we get into all the juicy details, scandals, and drama, let's take a moment to go back in time and discuss the true source of this chaos. It's time to travel back to the actual watch capital of the world, but it's not Switzerland. Okay, so you probably grew up hearing that the best watches come from Switzerland, right?
Asking y'all should receive. Tisa, where are the watch manufacturers? I did some digging and I found the watch manufacturers. There is a new scandal coming out of the luxury watch division. Listen, if you want to keep going to Rolex, if you want to keep going to AP and spending your money, go and do that. However, industry insiders are coming out, and I have their videos. People have even been fired from it for lifting the hood away from the
snow-capped mountains. Each Rolex is painstakingly crafted by talented elderly men wearing magnifying glasses. It's a cute but somewhat fairy tale image. Let's have a genuine conversation. Welcome to Shenzhen, China, which is, no kidding, the world's watch capital. More than 95% of watches manufactured worldwide are produced in China, with Shenzhen alone producing a huge portion of them.
Those Swiss watches are actually made in China, and the reason that replicas often look just as good as the original is that they are made in the same factory.
They offer a wide range of styles to choose from, maintain strict production standards, and can support customization, starting from just 50 pieces. What? Worry about them are just middlemen? You contact them directly.
Furthermore, we're discussing premium materials, expensive dials, polished bands, and more. Not just knockoffs. Switzerland just cannot compete with these genuine parts, which include sapphire glass, ceramic bezels, and everything else. This is where things get really hot. These aren't the blatant knockoff Raleighs from the swap meet. No, we're not talking about some $30 flea market fakes here. Instead, these watches are made with genuine parts purportedly from the same factories that make them for the big names. Some Shenzhen factories are reportedly producing pieces for major players like Omega, Tag Heuer, Tissot, and possibly even the actual Rolex supply chain. The only thing lacking is the official Swiss blessing. The crazy aspect is that some of these factories have stopped concealing and are now publicly flaunting their skills, even accepting special orders from the general public. This means you can get your luxury timepiece from the plug instead of the upscale boutique.
Watches come in different sizes. A small dial makes your wrist slimmer, while a larger one makes you a stronger area. First of all, you need to determine your budget range. The Rolex Datejust is the best choice for cost-effective.
However, that poses a significant query. If your luxury watch is mostly put together in China, why does it say Swissade on it? Well, let me put you on game. This label is one of the slickest loopholes in fashion history. You see that cute little Swissade stamp sitting pretty on the bottom of the dial, the one that screams elite taste, class, and old money vibes. Yeah, it doesn't mean what you think it means, despite what the luxury brands want you to believe. Swissade doesn't mean the whole watch was crafted in some cozy Swiss chalet. Nope. According to Swiss law, only 60% of the value of the watch has to come from Switzerland to earn that label. Let me say that again, value, not the actual product. And guess what counts as value? Branding, marketing, research, even just putting the movement in the case. Once it lands in Geneva, that's it. So imagine this: a factory in Shenzhen builds the Omega case, bracelet, dial, the whole thing, and ships it out nearly complete. Then some guy in Switzerland drops in the movement, buffs it a little, and bam, it's now officially Swissade. And you're dropping $6,000 on something mostly built in China, but rebranded with a Swiss stamp and luxury glow up, all thanks to that magic marketing sauce and a few fancy finishing touches. And don't get it twisted, this isn't some brand new scandal. The luxury world has been playing this game for years. It started as whispers on Reddit, leaked its way onto TikTok, and now it's blowing up with insider exposes like it's a full and true crime series. One former employee said he used to work at a major Swiss watch brand and got canned just for asking too many questions.
I'm going to Fire Herald.
Why?
The watch is a fake.
What's fake about it?
According to the serial number,
It doesn't correspond to that.
He was restoring vintage watches from the 70s and found out tons of parts were already coming from Asia back. Then he even dropped photos, bracelets, hands, dials, all straight out of China. And the movement, sometimes it was Swiss, but sometimes it was just a cheap $5 quartz piece tossed in last minute. Wild. So yeah, this scandal goes way deeper than folks thought. And now you're probably asking, why hasn't the mainstream media blown the lid off this mess? Easy, the luxury watch world is swimming in cash. Big magazines get millions in ad money from Rolex, Omega, Cartier. You think they're about to bite the hand that feeds them? Not a chance. And the watch bloggers, even worse, these folks are being flown out to Basel World, getting gifted watches, treated like royalty at brand dinners. Influencers are literally paid to smile, pose, and keep it cute. Nobody's risking their next free Rolex to spill the truth. That's why it's up to the underdogs now. YouTubers like Misty, TikTokers, and even anonymous factory workers who are done staying quiet. They're the ones pulling back the curtain and showing what's really going down behind all that luxury glitz. And just when everyone thought Rolex was untouchable, boom, they pulled a move nobody saw coming. They dropped their prices, not across the board of course, but just enough to get people whispering, wait, what's going on? Reports from deep in the watch forums and high-end dealers say that certain Rolex models like the Submariner, the GMT Master 2, and some Oyster Perpetuals got price cuts of up to 20% in certain markets. And guess what? These just so happen to be the same models getting a little too popular in the replica world. Coincidence? Yeah, right. Now don't get it twisted, Rolex didn't blast this out in some flashy campaign. Please, Rolex never goes on sale. They played it smooth and subtle. Like always, these price drops slid and quietly handled, mostly by authorized dealers in very specific spots. But the watch crowd, they clocked it immediately, especially since this came right after that Chinese expose went viral, the one showing Rolex style cases and bezels getting boxed and shipped by the thousands straight out of a warehouse in Longgang. And let's be real, brands don't just slash prices for fun, especially not Rolex, a brand that lives off hype, exclusivity, and that hard to get flex. The fact that they implemented these hush-hush cuts at the exact moment that their supply chain drama erupted is causing stress for luxury fans, because the whole illusion of high fashion relies on mystery to make you crave the thing you can't have. However, now that this illusion has been completely destroyed, people are cutting out the middlemen entirely and turning to secret WhatsApp groups, WeChat circles, and private Telegram chats. Full-on factories are selling direct and even creating custom luxury builds for a very small percentage of what you would pay retail. The worst part is that they are no longer even referring to them as replicas. Instead, the game has changed to factory B-grade homage, same line release, parallel build, or unbranded OEM, original equipment manufacturer. Translation: legally, we are unable to claim that we created it for Rolex. It's providing DH gate, but it's much more refined And a whistleblower even said that some Chinese suppliers use leftover materials from actual Rolex production orders to complete the job and sell it covertly. These aren't cheap knockoffs or scams. They're essentially the real thing, just lacking that last Rolex blessing. Now let's talk money when it comes to luxury watches, particularly brands owned by industry titans like Swatch Group, Rickhat, and LVMH. The profit margins typically range from 10% to 20%, which isn't insignificant, but it's also not incredibly villainous when compared to the actual money generators. Technology and pharmaceuticals. Apple's profit margin is 32% as of right now. Microsoft had a seamless 38%, while Novo Nordisk, the firm that sponsored the Olympic effort, had a 39%. Suddenly, that $15,000, even though Rolex doesn't seem all that crazy anymore. Don't get too attached to them just yet. They're still eating well though, and I mean eating in.
Rolex to your collection. These are the 5 cheapest Rolex watches that you can buy right now. First one, we got the 36mm Datejust 16220 with the engine turn bezel, and it's worth around $6,500. The next watch is a 36mm Datejust 16014 with the blue dial and fluted bezel. This one is priced at around $6,200.
Although Rolex is technically a non-profit foundation, which is the year's biggest plot twist, they are moving in silence like a private Facebook group, and don't even publicly share their financials. However, just because they aren't showing off like the tech titans, doesn't mean they aren't making a lot of money, which leads us to the crucial question of how much it actually costs to make one of these watches. According to industry insiders, a watch that retails for $6,000 may actually cost between $1,200 and $1,500 to produce. Yes, that is less than 25% of the retail price. And that's before dealer markups and the luxury tax. Some brands are a little more upfront though. Christopher Ward, a UK watchmaker, says they never charge more than 3 times their production cost, Omega closer to 4x. But Rolex, most experts believe they mark it up a solid 5 times, or more so, while they're not stroking cats in some Bond villain castle. Let's not pretend they're just breaking, either they're still running up big numbers in the name of prestige. So yeah, you're not just paying for the watch, you're paying for the whole machine. Behind it, the brand, the marketing, the mystery, the image. But let's keep it real, not everything that looks expensive actually is that $60 Rolex knock you snag off the gram. Yeah, it might pass in a blurry Insta story. And sure, it can shine under soft lighting, as long as nobody zooms in. But let's not kid ourselves, the inside of that thing is basically Dollar Tree, with a dream. No shade to the budget queens or the DH-gate divas, but facts are facts. Most replicas cut corners hard. The movement inside, usually some random no-name part that ticks like a broken metronome. It's nowhere near that smooth, rich sweep you get from a real automatic watch. And the seals, trash, 0 water resistance. That fake Rolex will fog up just from a humid bathroom mirror. The metal, cheap alloys that'll scratch if you breathe on them too hard. The glow-in-the-dark details barely there, and the weight, office like way off. And don't even ask about the finishing, definitely not hand-polished by some Swiss craftsman in a snowy cabin.
In different sizes, a small dial makes your wrist slimmer, while a larger one makes you a stronger error. First of all, you need to determine your budget range. The Rolex Datejust is the best choice for cost-effective. For more advanced options, there's sports and professional models. Let's look at the submariners here.
But here's the real question everyone ends up asking once they fall down this rabbit hole. Are luxury watches actually overpriced? And honestly, it's complicated. So let's unpack it. If you walk into this thinking you're buying pure craftsmanship, innovation, and legacy, you might end up disappointed. Cause not every luxury watch is the engineering marvel it's hyped up to be. Some of these brands, they're out here piecing together pre-made parts, slapping on a well-known name, doubling the price and calling it a day. They're banking on reputation, not reinvention. So while some watches are truly built like art, others are just riding the wave of a legendary logo. And that's the game, and it's a big, but once you really know what you're paying for, everything hits different. You're not just buying steel and sapphire glass, you're buying access, you're buying status, you're buying that silent flex, the one where you walk into a room and heads turn just because of what's shining on your wrist. That feeling, for some folks, that's priceless. So is it overpriced? Technically, yeah. But emotionally, that depends on you, because once you know the truth behind the price tag, the factories, the markups, the marketing, you hold the real power. You get to decide if the hype is worth it. The power is not in the brand, not in the watch, it's in you. If you vibed with this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Tell me about your most bizarre watch tea in the comments section below, and I'll see you at the next one.